Okay, AP&S, you announced your entry, I think, into the US market back in 2024, and just be good to sort of look back now. How has the US operation developed since those sort of first hires, and are there any particular milestones that stand out so far since you've been in the US?
Yes. The last 2 years have been extremely exciting and successful for AP&S, particularly since we are new into the market. We have received very good and detailed and intense pull from the local market to provide new wet processing technologies for the current and the future needs, which also led us to the expansion of our field service organization, particularly at the West Coast. Not only that we are providing high-end, very cost-efficient production, wet processing production solution, we do want to be a fully enclosed partner, which also includes our field service strategy, which we call service desks. Having said that, we look at our market and install base, and typically at the large install base, we are generating our service desks with one or more field service engineers that support our customers. And equally with that, we have regional spare parts hubs established to timely support any kind of warranty support in parts or consumable parts perspective.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the move into the US, it was your customers were saying, please come here. So how have the conversations with your US customers evolved since you've established the local presence, and has that changed in any way how AP&S supports projects on the ground?
Yes, great question, Phil. Being local as a registered US company made a big difference. Not only that we are positioning ourselves not for the short-term gain, but a long-term partnership strategy. The interactions, the depth of conversations, the depth of project involvement, and as well exposure to senior management has been extremely well received over the last couple of years with our customer base. And just having people in the same time zone, speaking the same language, the same cultural mindset, made a big positive impact with our customers and for AP&S, of course.
And if I got it right, you secured, I think, a major first order for 5 wet process systems for a US customer. I think that was scheduled for delivery last year, mid to end last year. Just be good to understand how that project went, and does it say anything, about the demand for advanced wet processing in the US, or is it just anything you want to add, I suppose?
The project has been excellent so far. We are in line with the customer's qualification and installation schedule. It's a new approach for the customer and as well for us. Of course, we had to overcome certain starting learning phases, but as the saying goes, good sailors are made in storm and weather condition and not on flat seas. We mastered all those challenges extremely well with the cooperation of our customers. Having said that, we have shipped our tools. They are qualified or pre-qualification and as well in the final installation phase for that particular project. So we're very excited that this project has been working out as planned. In addition, what I wanted to...
Sorry, yes.
Yes. In addition, as well, having our technology proven by the first US customer, this has also opened a very large discussion with other regions in the US and other customers, and particularly where we're facing in the US market a very mature install base of fab installation, where clean room is at a premium and clean room space is extremely rare. So our new 100 wafer batch processing equipment has been very successful on that topic. What that allows us is to replace wet processing base, basically with our equipment. And if you just imagine, typically we have 4 to 6 wet processing tools. We can reduce those 6 tools, for example, down to 3 tools with the same throughput required. What the benefit is not only that we reduce the cost of ownership and everything, maintenance on that tool set, is that we are opening up hundreds, if not thousands, of square feet of clean room space, which then fab managers can utilize to put other bottleneck technologies in place, which before they didn't have any space. So not only that we're increasing the throughput and the efficiency of our wet processing base, but we're increasing and improving the efficiency of the global total wafer fab layout.
Okay, so the technology obviously has some major benefits for folks, but I'm just wondering as well, we've got the US CHIPS Act, which is clearly reshaping the semiconductor manufacturing landscape. Has it had an impact on AP&S's pipeline? And to that point, I suppose, do you see long-term opportunities emerging as fabs and suppliers, localize more than they certainly would have at one stage?
Yeah, absolutely. The US CHIPS Act is a very, very important act for the US semiconductor market. And as you probably know, the fundings are split between research, academia, and industrial fundings. On that note, we're extremely well positioned and engaging in conversation with R&D universities and research facilities, not only to support the current, but develop the future new technologies. From that aspect, we are very closely working with research centers in the US, as I mentioned it, but as well, we are working with high volume industrial partners to support the establishment of a very aggressive growth path supported by the US CHIPS Act.
Okay, and silicon carbide, no secrets, becoming increasingly important within the industry, especially, I guess, electric vehicles and power electronics. Just your thoughts as to how well positioned is AP&S's wet process technology for SiC manufacturing, and is there strong US interest in the area?
Yes, silicon carbide has been a very hot topic over the last 4 to 5 years, particularly now that we have seen some saturation on the EV market, particularly in the US and the European consumer market. It's kind of like on a stable, flat plus growth rate, but nevertheless, where silicon carbide is shining from a technology point of view is in the power segment and as well in the very emerging, very aggressive growing AI segment. On that topic, the power consumption of these data centers, AI centers, it's mind-blowing. And saving 10 to 20% just by upgrading to silicon carbide makes a tremendous difference for those operators. And how has this impacted AP&S's pipeline? Very well. We are one of the leading edge supplier for silicon carbide processing solutions in Europe. We are at every single silicon carbide powerhouse in Europe and Asia, and working very closely with our US prospects and customers to establish the same value proposition that we have been very successfully being able to implement in the European and other markets.
Okay, and continuing with that theme, I guess, AP&S, you've long emphasized process validation and operator training through your demo center, the AP&S Academy. So does that transport, again, how critical are those capabilities when entering a market like the US, where time to production is under intense pressure, I guess, as it is elsewhere?
You said a very important phrase, time to market or time to production. It's extremely important in the semiconductor industry. Our AP&S demo center with our very experienced PhD and process engineering teams allowed us to review, pre-qualify, and develop processes for our customers during the build phase of the equipment. So basically, in general, we have build phases of 6 to 9 months for an equipment. What we can do is we can already pre-qualify the process in our demo lab. So once the tool gets shipped to the customer sites, gets installed, qualified, we can already hit the ground running with our pre-qualified process and just do the fine-tuning. So this allows the customers in the market to go much faster into the phase of producing wafers instead of having a very lengthy qualification process like our competitors.
Okay, and I think the company's been named for a third year in a row. That's the kind of
Yes,
the important bit, but obviously being named
yes.
once is good. But 3 years in a row, you've been named a Productronica Innovation Award winner. I think CleanSurF Automated was the product. So just first of all, we'll drill down into the product a little bit, but to start with, just your thoughts as to what this recognition means for AP&S, particularly when you're, looking at expanding internationally.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great honor to receive the third time in a row the innovation award from the Productronica Association. And this again reflects where we are very proud of our engineering and our product marketing team is where our quality is to identify market needs, even if it's niches, haven't been recognized, to identify those needs on the market, put them in front of our product team and our engineering teams and ask them, come up with a solution that we can provide a fix for an imminent problem. And they've done a great job with that. And the CleanSurF, what allows us is from a typical manually loaded CB3 tools that we have been very successfully placed in the market as well in the US. The CleanSurF allows us to cater to a market that has fully automated overhead transportation systems, for example, particularly FOUPs. You do want to minimize human interaction for failure and particle generation. In that case, the CleanSurF is equipped with an overhead loading system, fully automated processing, loading and unloading effect, and as well the process control is extremely tight to minimize any kind of contamination excursions for follow-up process. So this has been one of our very popular products. And as well, on the other benefit side, it's a very cost-effective solution for the market, which provides a lot of value. And with the modular approach, we can utilize that layout in any kind of shape or form in clean room. So if you have a little bit space inside your clean room, you need box and cassette cleaning capabilities, we can shoehorn and squeeze in that tool and that space, and then the tool can also grow with the throughput requirements as needed.
Okay, I think you might have partially answered my next couple of questions, but I'm going to ask them anyway. And if you want to,
Sure.
obviously expand. So we've got cross-contamination prevention and process reliability increasingly critical at advanced nodes. So the CleanSurF automated, how do you see it addressing the real-world challenges that customers are experiencing in high volume and automated fabs? And then maybe sort of part two, you mentioned the sort of compact footprint and automation-ready design, well suited to space constrained clean rooms. Just your thoughts as to whether flexible modular equipment is particularly a strong differentiator in the US market. I mean, I suspect it's not just in the US, but so if
Of course.
sort of part one and part two, basically just tell us more that as what CleanSurF can do, if you like.
Yes, of course. The CleanSurF combines fully automated product handling with a very high efficient cleaning process control. We've been challenged, particularly with our cleaning wet processing equipment, that we take dirty wafers, we clean them, and then you have a perfect clean wafer. We're going to put it back into the same dirty cassette that the wafer came. So in order to avoid and minimize cross-contamination, we've brought the CB3 and as well now our fully automated CleanSurF equipment to the market. This is a combination of customers' needs to have precise quality control and particle control throughout the process flow of the whole wafer inside the fab. And having said that, the CleanSurF, it's an evolution of our CB3, which is again fully automated. There's hardly any operator human interaction. involved, and we can clean everything from Throop and Smith cassettes, fully automated. And we have a big saying, if you hate it, automate it. And this is one of our perfect example how we use automation and process control to minimize human impact errors.
Okay, and maybe just finally, you've got this rapid US expansion, and AP&S's mantra, if you like, is or the made in Germany engineering identity is very strong as well. So I suppose how do you balance those two things, or is there a need to balance it? Does it matter? And on top of that, what's your vision for the company in the US, into the future? Clearly, predicting anything right this moment in time is maybe not the easiest thing on the planet, but just your thoughts as to what the roadmap looks like for yourselves.
Yeah. That's a great question, Phil. The particular for AP&S, made in Germany has been, used quite a lot. But what does that actually mean? For us, made in Germany, it's a reflection of our mindset of high standards, quality control, design philosophies, and engineering standards. All right. And this perfectly supports the rapid needs of the very fast growing US market. On the long term, we do recognize the need to be even further localized with our customers, connected not only by the shoulder, but also by the hip. So at the moment, we are, as I said, very excited the process and the growth opportunity that we were given over the last 2 years. And going forward over the next 3 to 4, 5 years, we do visualize to have certain manufacturing hubs in the US. So what that means is we're still going to have the engineering done mainly in Germany. And then we're going to have production and localized need engineering aspects localized here in the US market to provide German engineered, localized, adjusted, and localized manufactured solution for our customers to provide them the best combination of production, solution, timely delivery, and as well local support.
Thanks. And maybe just finally, I have to ask, I mean, the current sort of geopolitical situation, is that having any impact on your business, or at the moment, are you sort of business as usual as far as you can, or are you, just any thoughts you're happy to share?
Sure. Of course, the current global market impacts, I would expect any single aspect in life. And of course, our manufacturing and engineering efforts. What we've done is we've taken a very early approach, for example, to ensure to support our local customers in the US. So last year, we have established a spare part center in California, and we have invested a tremendous six-figure amount to be able locally to provide spare parts. So this allows us basically to block out any kind of cost that we are seeing right now, just shipping. Everybody knows about the fuel cost exploding for the time being. But our strategic forward-looking approach enabled us now to basically ignore those costs on the long term. And those are the strategic investments where we are very proud and also want to show the US market, not only that we are AP&S US, it's a US registered company, that we have people here, that we want to serve the market here, that we're investing in this market. And this is one of the approach that we have taken very early, because we are a conservative company, we are a flexible company, and nevertheless, we do want to show the US customers that we are in here not for the short or midterm, but for the long-term run. And this is one of the strategic investments that we have done. And of course, we have to roll with the punches as new situations develop basically on a daily basis. And, as an ISO certified, as a well structured company, will be very efficiently and actively approaching those challenges in the future.
Excellent. No, it's been great to chat, and thank you so much for sharing so many
My
insights into
pleasure.
what's going on with the company and in the US in particular, obviously. So really appreciate your time. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Phil. Appreciate it.